So today, on this installment of random reviews, I guess I'm gonna call it, unless I think of another name for the series, where I talk about random albums by random bands. Today we're talking about Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Um, released back in 1966. Where to start? So the Beach Boys, I think they have good voices. They can write some good songs, especially on this. You can tell there's some good writing on it for its time. I think by what's his name, Brian Wilson. Um, but yeah, the Beach Boys, I've never fully got into them. Probably never will. But I do like this album. I found I got an enjoyment out of it. It's not something I would listen to all the time, but every once in a while, maybe. One thing is that a lot of people say it's like the greatest album ever, which I definitely don't agree with that. And people compare it with Sergeant Pepper, and it doesn't compare with Sergeant Pepper, so just shut up. Uh, and people compare the Beach Boys with the Beatles. They don't compare with the Beatles, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is probably the only album by the Beach Boys I can really listen to the whole way through. I do think it's a great album, a great Beach Boys album, but I don't think it's anywhere near the best album ever. I will say, is it a masterpiece? It's the Beach Boys' masterpiece. But people call it like progressive pop, and come on. There's nothing, they weren't the only one using exotic instruments at the time. Like there's some exotic sort of instrumentation. Listen to Revolver and Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul used it before this. No one says anything about that, but this, everyone goes crazy over. Yeah, on Rubber Soul, there was sitar and everything, and Revolver. And as far as the horn thing goes, Frank Zappa was doing the same thing at the same time, or before this was even recorded, probably, with Freak Out. No one talks about that, and that's light years more progressive than this, and it's not even that progressive, really. I think the seed of prog was planted with Sergeant Pepper, to be honest. That was the peak of the Beatles' career. Yeah, that's my cat making noise. Anyway, I did find enjoyment out of it. It's not really my sort of thing. I guess as far as 60s pop music goes, I find it satisfying for 60s easy listening pop with horns. I like the organ playing and the horns and everything, and some of the exotic instruments. I liked when the Beatles did that, like on Within You Without You, and the Inner Light, and Love You Too from Revolver. I like those songs. But I think it sounds kind of silly saying the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds is the best album ever. just sounds silly. But I will give it its due. It is great for its time, and it's probably a big inspiration on their contemporaries. People say if it wasn't for Pet Sounds, there'd be no Sergeant Pepper. There'd be a Sergeant Pepper. Sergeant Pepper came from a mishearing from Paul McCartney when he misheard salt and pepper and thought it was Sergeant Pepper. That's where, and then he thought of the thing himself. It wasn't all because of Pet Sounds. It was because of his own drugged out mind, probably. I mean, it probably did. I will say, probably did have some influence. Like maybe they said, "Hey, why don't we use like strings in our songs? I mean, our contemporary band did it, so why don't we do it?" Uh, what is my cat doing this time? Yeah. Anyway, I do appreciate the album's existence because it is important. It is important. Um, but it is important. It's a landmark achievement, I guess, for the Beach Boys. Uh, yeah, like I said, probably about the only album I get use out of. Maybe maybe Surf's Up. I don't know. Uh, just random assorted songs from other albums. Getting interrupted like crazy today. Uh, so let's see. As Wouldn't It Be Nice? It's alright. You Still Believe in Me is alright. That's Not Me. I like That's Not Me. Don't Talk is alright. I'm Waiting for the Day. I'm Waiting for the Day. That drum beat, that I guess funny time signature, that's what makes it progs. But yeah, I like that, the weird drum beat. Let's Go Away for a While is nice. Sloop John B is nice. God Only Knows is a pretty good song. I Know There's an Answer. Here Today, alright. I Just Wasn't Made for These Times is alright. The song Pet Sounds is alright. Caroline No, alright. There's nothing bad on here. There's nothing I dislike about it. There's some songs that are alright. But I mean, for me, there's just so much better stuff out there. Like, it baffles me this is known as the best album by some people, or even one of them. I mean, the stuff that came out since then in like the 70s. And people say they can't believe this album was recorded in the 60s, like it's so advanced for its time. To me, it sounds very much of its time, if not older. Some of it sounds 50s like. Yeah, I don't dislike it. And I don't worship it. I don't know what I would rate it. I mean, for the Beach Boys, it's a 5-star album, but for me, I don't know, it's pretty good, but let me, so I've made my decision. So as for rating, I'll give it 3 pet sounds out of 5. That's 3 pet sounds out of 5. Like I said, I do appreciate this album's existence and what it did for music. I will give it merit for that, but you know, for me, it's not really my thing. I did like it. I found it pleasant to listen to, but I didn't worship it either. Like this album, I worship to death. This is the greatest album of all time, but that sounds it's a definitely good album for its time, and it's a good 60s pop album with some nice elements to it, but it's not progressive in any way. I mean, like I said, Frank Zappa and the Beatles were doing the same thing at the time. I think even the Rolling Stones were. Yeah, the Stones were even doing some of that, like some of the other outside the band instrumentations. Were the Who doing it? I don't remember. And then Pink Floyd later on did it in '67, like Scarecrow and probably other songs too. And then even later on Seesaw, but yeah, this is a good album for '66, and it's, in my opinion, probably the best, only Beach Boys album I'd probably listen to the whole way through. Maybe Surf's Up, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, that's probably enough of my rambling. I just got finished listening to this before I did the video, so I wanted to give it another listen and give a review on it. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for tuning in for this installment of Random Reviews. I don't know if I'm going to keep calling it that, but for now that's what I'm going to call it. It definitely wasn't as upsetting as that awful Dream Theater Metropolis Part 2. Ugh, hate that album. That, like, Pet Sounds blows it away, sadly. But I guess that's it. Keep turning on the music and turning off the drama. I'll see you guys later.